Now, let me turn to you, Mr. Turley. Professor Turley, in 2006, you wrote an op-ed in The Guardian entitled, quote, "Stop Persecuting Polygamists." There, you likened polygamists to, quote, "persecuted minorities," and you said polygamy is, quote, "a practice with deep and good faith religious meaning." Isn't that what you said?
I represented the sister wives family in challenging a polygamy prosecution.
The answer is yes. You've been crusading for legalizing polygamy for years. In fact, in an op-ed in the USA Today, you said that a Utah polygamist named Tom Green, who was also convicted of pedophilia for raping his 13-year-old stepdaughter, should not have been charged with polygamy. Now, Mr. Chairman,
Can I respond, sir? Because that's not, can I respond? Because it's not entirely accurate. I actually criticized him. What I was dealing with was the constitutionality of what is called morals legislation. And I admit I'm pretty libertarian.
Was Tom Green convicted of pedophilia and rape?
Government can
Was he
impose a
convicted
moral
of
code on
pedophilia and
people.
rape? The answer is yes. Mr. Chairman, we're counting down the hours until a government shutdown, and here we have a hearing where we have one witness who defended a polygamist who was convicted of pedophilia and rape, and we have another witness with LinkedIn accounts with extreme views posted. I think that, unfortunately, this speaks to the credibility of the witnesses and the credibility of this impeachment inquiry. I yield back.
Point of order. Point of order right over here.
Chair recognizes Mr. Biggs. What's your point?
Mr. Chairman, when a member of the committee impugns the integrity of a witness, is it against the rules to allow those witnesses to respond to that malicious statement?
I'm quoting the article.
Look, I'm asking. I'm not asking you. I'm asking the chairman. I've asked for a ruling on that.
Mr. Chairman, he can use his own time to question any witness he wants.
I was recognized on a point of order.
Point of order.
What's your point?
I mean,
My point is that
I'd ask for a ruling on my point of order
the way we've
first.
always proceeded,
I'd
Mr.
ask for
Chairman,
a ruling on my point of order
Mr.
first.
Chairman, in
I'd
order
ask
to
for a
rehabilitate,
ruling on my point of
Mr.
order
Chairman,
first.
Okay, here's the ruling. The witnesses have the opportunity to address that during a line of questioning. If Mr. Turley wants to address that during another member's line of questioning, then he's more than welcome to do that. Remind everyone we're on their 5-minute clock. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very disturbed about what I've heard here today. There's a saying among country lawyers that if you have the facts, you pound the facts. If you don't have the facts, you pound the table. When you can't pound the table, I guess some of my Democratic colleagues choose to pound the witnesses. That was inexcusable. What just happened in this committee, attacking the witnesses personally instead of addressing the merits of the evidence being presented, indicates to me that my Democratic colleagues know the evidence is becoming increasingly conclusive. It reminds me of a line from a movie, A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, "You can't handle the truth." The evidence will either convict or acquit in any criminal proceeding or civil proceeding. If there's no wrongdoing, the evidence or the lack of evidence will support that conclusion. The problem of the suspicion of wrongdoing is compounded by the withholding of evidence, the misrepresentation of the evidence in hand, and the obstruction of an investigation but not denying access to information that would be or could be evidence. At this point, there's a growing public perception, and it's reflected in the polls, Mr. Chairman, that President Biden, his son Hunter, other family members, and business associates were engaged in some form of criminal activity. It is the responsibility of this committee to pursue the truth and report it to the American people. I'm not sure that's what's happening on the other side with my colleagues. It is vitally important that our efforts be conducted openly, without prejudice, with no other agenda other than arriving at the truth, regardless of our politics. It is vitally important. As Professor Turley has pointed out, you don't undertake an impeachment inquiry lightly. This has profound implications for the future of this country and our ability to govern ourselves. We have seen repeatedly obstruction efforts to deny this committee access to information that's material to this investigation. And I want to ask Professor Turley a question. In your view, could the promise of foreign access to any official, government official, whether it's the vice president or anybody else, that only materially benefited a family member, could that be influence peddling?
Yes, and as I point out in the testimony, courts have found that various benefits to family members can be attributed as a benefit to the principal. That has included everything from throwing a golf contest in the favor of a son of a politician to paying for gifts. In fact, I was lead counsel in the last Porteous trial, in the last impeachment trial for a judge, and that was the trial in the U.S. Senate. My client, Judge Porteous, was accused, among other things, of benefits going to his family. And so there's certainly precedent, not only in criminal cases, but in impeachment cases for making that next.
Okay, I want to be more specific. If Vice President Biden used his office to influence domestic or foreign policy for the financial benefit of his son, even though Vice President Biden may never have received a dime, but it resulted in millions of dollars going to his son or his brother or other family members or business associates, and used his office to influence either domestic or foreign policy for their benefit, could that be a violation of the public trust?
Absolutely. In fact, it's perhaps the most quintessential violation of the public trust, because you're not acting in the public's interest. It's a form of public corruption that this government, this country, has declared as corrupt in other countries around the world. Sir, I don't want to jump on your time because I know you all have important things to do, but I would like to respond to the attack that you mentioned.
You may do so.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to explain what that attack dealt with, if nothing else, for members of the committee than for my 3 children here, who may be a little surprised by what they just heard. As they, I think, know, I've spent my life challenging what is called morals legislation. What the Democratic member attacked me for are laws that dictate to others how they should live their lives. Some of those laws have been used against gay and lesbian couples. They've been used against minorities. The individual that the member described, I condemned. I represented the sister wives in a case challenging that law on the basis of individual rights. The trial court ruled in our favor and struck down that law, the first time that type of law had ever been struck down. The 10th Circuit later dismissed on technical grounds. But I just want to end with one other thing, and that is, it's not going to make a difference. You know, this has become a pattern of witnesses, whistleblowers, FBI agents, journalists being attacked in Congress. It won't make any difference. It won't change the constitutional standard. It won't negate any evidence that you have. But at some point, you've got to say, enough. You know, that we have to have something, the public has to have something in Congress to look to have faith. And I have to tell you, it's not that I think that absurd attack meant any difference to my children or to the people that are watching. It makes a difference to our process. Witnesses should not have to...
Mr. Chairman, I hate to interrupt Professor Turley, but could our witness get equal time then? Because we're over a minute over.
Has
Chairman,
your
I think
witness...
gentleman's time has expired. He responded to the false allegations by your members, and I apologize for how you all have been treated. I apologize to the American people watching this hearing for the parliamentary stunts that the other side has pulled. I think people in America care about public corruption. The title of this hearing is an impeachment inquiry. And I think that Mr. Turley's done a good job explaining the basis for why we need to take impeachment inquiry and move forward. We have led this investigation, and now we need the impeachment inquiry status as we move forward to get the information that we have been obstructed by this administration and by this family. And that's what the purpose of this hearing is. Don't create another false narrative. With